Stakeholders are absolutely everywhere, and they are the reason that the company exists. They are the company. So we have got this big technical article from ACCA, part 1 about stakeholders. And we're going to break this down. We're going to give you a quick summary about what the article is about. We're going to talk about how it's been tested in the past and how it might be tested in your exam. We're then going to think about actions for you to take as a result of this article. And then we're going to give it our rating from Club SBL. So over to you, Ben. Can you give us a quick summary? What does this article tell us about stakeholders?
Sure. It starts off with definitions of what a stakeholder is. And it's the same definition you'll always see anywhere. A stakeholder is anyone who cares. Any organization that cares. But actually, there's something good in this definition, something extra, which I think is really useful. And it talks about stakeholders having this kind of two-way relationship with the company. That a stakeholder can be affected by the company, but also what the stakeholder does has an impact on the company itself. So like an employee, for example, if they work hard, it drives the business forward. But the decisions of management of the company, affect their job, if they make them redundant or whatever. And actually, this gives you a bit of insight into what this article is like. It uses the term bidirectionality to talk about.
What's that?
Bidirectionality. I mean, do you not use that phrase yourself, Andrew, in regular life?
Not all that often. No, I don't know.
Okay.
No.
So what it really means is two-way, backwards and forwards. But they use a complicated word that no one would ever use, like bidirectionality, I don't know why you would do that. But anyway, they have. And that's what this article is like a little bit. It's got quite a lot of technical jargon in it. Talks about what stakeholders are. Talks about the kind of claims that a stakeholder might have over an organization. The kind of relationship that a stakeholder might have, like having a contract with them. They're an employee or a customer or a supplier or whatever. Then it's into your classic on stakeholders, Mendelow's Matrix.
Yes.
Love a bit of Mendelow. Now, Mendelow's Matrix is talking about categorizing your stakeholders by the amount of power they have over the company and their level of interest. Now, how bothered are they about what happens at this business? And if they are bothered, what can they do about it? And Mendelow's Matrix kind of is there's 4 boxes you can put your stakeholders into. And that helps you, having categorized them, it helps you to decide how to manage those stakeholders most effectively. Now, in terms of SBL, it is useful to, and I know you're going to come on to talk about this, Andrew, and how it's been examined in the past. It can be useful to put them in the bucket so you have to think about how to treat them. But this isn't a kind of learn and churn definition exam. Oh, I've put my stakeholder in that category. This is how I should manage them. You've got to be a lot more kind of applied and scenario based than that. But anyway, Mendelow's Matrix is in there and it's a really useful model to be all over. It finishes off with 7, I think it's 7. No, 8. 8 different ways of assessing categories of stakeholders. And I have to say, I'd never heard of any of these. I've taught stakeholders for the best part of 20 years. And all of these I read and went, never heard of that. What? A legitimate versus an illegitimate stakeholder. And we're talking about primary and secondary stakeholder. Right. This whole back section of the article is if you are doing a multiple choice knowledge type exam on business strategy, then it would be super useful. SBL is not a knowledge-based or multiple choice type exam. So everything at the back end of this article is not written in an SBL context at all. And it gives you a little bit of a flavor of what the article's like. It tells you this directly. This article was written for the P1 exam, which was the precursor of SBL, and then it's been tweaked and updated. But P1, and I used to teach it back in the day, P1 was much more of the exam was about the models. Yeah. And you had to describe the models and how they'd be used. Whereas SBL is much more, here's a business with a challenge. Can you advise us? Oh, and by the way, the models might be useful for a bit of context. This is written really for a different era and a different exam. So there's my summary. Not that quick, but hopefully helpful.
No, that's useful. And actually, the SBL examiner comments in every single exam say just reciting theory and just like churning out a model does not earn you any marks, does it? It's not just a case of you shouldn't. Actually, they say do not do that. So it's a little bit strange.
It's dangerous to learn those 8 ways of categorizing stakeholders.
Those eight categories are actually probably
harmful.
Yeah, it'd be worse to learn them than not learn them. So yeah. Okay, so on to how this has been tested. The answer is it's been tested loads. Stakeholders they're crucial, aren't they? Like in every single exam, they're really, really important. Some specific examples, I'm just picking a few here because, again, it's come up loads. In December 2023, it came up, you had to evaluate stakeholders who have influence on strategic planning and then potential conflicts within them. So that was one called NC Tech in 2023. We've seen like CSR impacts on stakeholders in PVS, which was a vet company, which was relatively recent as well. We've also seen questions like dating a bit further back about like how to manage both internal and external stakeholders. So that is one classification.
So you would need to know, but then, I mean, do you need to have learned what could an internal stakeholder be? Oh, someone inside the company.
Oh yeah,
and then external stakeholder. Someone outside it. So do you need to memorize that? I mean, it's pretty obvious.
I think that's probably self-explanatory. And also that was back in 2021, so that was a little while ago as well. But they're sort of the direct questions about stakeholders. But then also, as you'll get onto in a sec, Ben, like just stakeholders generally, that like they can be used in other answers as well, can't they? It isn't just you have to wait. Oh, here's a question about stakeholders. Now I'm going to talk about them. They have been tested sort of more indirectly within other questions as well, because they are really, really important. So they get tested all the time. Really, really important.
Critical area. And bring us on to the actions for you. And this is really building what Andrew was just saying there. So the actions for you is to see stakeholders as being an absolute goldmine for you. It is a source of extra marks in every single exam question. And the way that you use stakeholders, even if it doesn't ask you a question about stakeholders, right? You use the wider implication, right? How is this decision going to impact employees, staff, customers? You use stakeholders as a way of adding depth into your answers. It's a great way, so considering a wider stakeholder and their needs, it's a great way of turning a 1 mark point into 2 marks. And it's a great way of getting yourself up to a pass in SBL. Now, in our course, there are 4 of these golden techniques for turning 1 mark into 2 marks. The number 1 is stakeholders. We call it the STAR technique, the 4 elements. So stakeholders is the S of STAR, and then TA and R. If you come and do our Club SBL course, we will give you those other 3 golden tickets to earning more marks in your exam. Now, action then is every time you are doing a written SBL question, which is every SBL question, when you run out of ideas or you think, oh, I'm not sure if I've got enough on this point, I need to add a bit more depth, stakeholders should be coming into your mind. And you should be thinking, how can I say the impact on someone else to add a bit of depth into this point? And the more you practice doing that all the way through your SBL preparation, the better you will get at it. So it's an action for now for you to do on every single SBL question to help you to get ready for the exam.
Now for our Club SBL rating. So our little review of this article. So the first thing to say about this article is it's on a topic that is tested all the time. So that makes it a good article in my eyes. It's really relevant, and stakeholders, as we said, could get directly tested, or you might use them just to build out your answer a bit more and turn it into 2 marks, which is also brilliant. So it's on a great topic. So from me, that's a thumbs up. Well done, ACCA. We've got a really examinable topic and a good article on that. Now, the article itself is quite long. Like we always talk about length. It wasn't one that I wanted. Yeah, it didn't appeal to me to read when you've got these massive paragraphs. Again, like we in our courses talk about writing style.
Yeah.
Writing 20 lines of solid text is never going to be good in SBL. So it's also not particularly appealing to read in an article.
It's not accessible with the language either, is it?
No. What was it? Bidirectional. Like,
bidirectional.
Yeah.
Your challenge for today, Andrew, after we've recorded this, is to try and say bidirectional in a sentence to your wife.
I'll try and get it in at some point today. Yeah, I'll see how we get on when I'm talking to my wife and say, I'm sorry, I thought this was a bidirectional conversation. When she's talking
Stop
to me.
telling me off.
Yes. So yeah, that for me, like the way it's laid out and things isn't great. But we then got the model, which is quite useful. I would have loved some examples in the model.
Yeah.
I work well, and again in our courses, I love using real life companies in every single.
It brings it to life, doesn't it? Makes it
real. Like that. Here's a company,
yeah,
but here are different stakeholders. Now we're going to practice putting them into the categories. Whereas this is much more factual, which again, I feel there's an opportunity there. And then, as you said, Ben, I mean, the 8 classifications, including active and passive stakeholders, narrow and wide stakeholders, tall and short stakeholders.
Yeah, thin and fat.
Yeah. Thin and fat, always they're not genuine ones. Yeah. But those, it just felt way too much information. Yeah. So for me, the the core topic is good, but the amount of stuff it told you which you just don't need for SBL.
Put us out of our misery, Andrew. What are you giving it?
I'm going to give it a 5. What do you think, Ben? Too
Yeah,
harsh?
5's good for me. 5 is good.
Right, thanks ever so much for watching. We've got loads more videos like this, breaking down these technical articles into easy to swallow things. We've also got loads of great technique tips. And when the pre-scene's out, make sure you are on Club SBL, because we always give you great insights on the exam as well. So check us out, Club SBL. Make sure you subscribe. Thanks ever so much for watching.